Celebration time. It don't matter what part of the jewel they come from. You da you and me da me. But guess what? All are we the one.
Cutkelvin is a Belizean-American who lives in San Antonio, Texas. Our Belize Watch team caught up with him while he was in Belize for the Easter break. Our conversation covered a wide range of topics. When we return from this break, he speaks of his love for sports, specifically cycling. We take a break to hear from our partners, Del Martin, Silkgrass Farms, The Barry, and Minister Kevin Bernard.
At Silkgrass Farms, we believe in more than just growing food. We're cultivating a future. Across 9,000 acres in the foothills of the Maya Mountains, our family of farms grows a vibrant array of crops: coconuts, citrus, cacao, watermelons, avocados. But our mission goes beyond harvests. Through sustainable agriculture, we are not just growing crops, we're strengthening ecosystems and reversing the impacts of climate change. Silkgrass Farms is a part of a global movement, transforming modern food systems into living stories of nutrition, nature, and people. From our fields to your table, every product tells a story of health and hope for the future.
The Barry is your one-stop store of choice. We have an array of electronics and accessories to keep you connected. Your home will be the envy of your friends when you choose from a wide variety of household appliances. We can help you dress the entire family in style and comfort with our selection of clothing and footwear. Visit our store on Albert Street in Belize City, San Pedro, La Isla Bonita, Park Street in Orange Walk Town, Belmopan, and San Ignacio, Santa Elena. The Barry. Get more, pay less.
Orange Walk, the future is brighter. Since Kevin Bernard became your representative, progress has never stopped, with Plan Belize 2.0 leading the way. In Palmar, 2 main roads have been paved. The main road that passes through Tower Hill Village has been paved, connecting our community. In Tan Pine Ridge, the entire road has been paved, a major step forward. And every month, new roads are being paved in Orange Walk East. Kevin Bernard is committed to building a stronger Orange Walk East, one road at a time. Together, we're moving forward. Kevin is the people's champion.
Celebration time. It don't matter what part of the jewel they come from. You da you and me da me. But guess what? All are we the one.
I'm with Kurt Cutkelvin, and Kurt resides in San Antonio, Texas. Is that right, Kurt?
That is correct, sir. I've been in San Antonio, Texas, 18 years now.
18 years. And Kurt, you're in Belize now, though, and we're having this conversation here in Belize. What brought you to Belize?
Well, this year for Easter, we came to Belize, one, to introduce my kids to cross country, because they've never been to Belize for Easter, and then two, to enjoy the land with them and fellowship. You know, they work hard and we work hard, so it's time to relax a little bit. So me, my wife, and my 2 older kids came. The benefit for me was when I was young, I was in a lot of organizations, and that allowed me to go see all of Belize.
Okay.
And so now I want them to know Belize like I do. My kids are Belizeans. They got passport. They already bought land in Belize. But knowing all the ins and outs of Belize, because Belize is a jewel. I mean, that's the bottom line.
It's the most beautiful country in the world, Kurt, and I know you agreed with me on that.
I don't only agree with you, but for somebody who's been to over 40 countries, we got what people don't have, and that's why sometimes it's disheartening to see that for the buck, people are impugning into the beauty of the natural resources to create stuff that people are not coming to Belize to experience. They're coming to Belize to experience the natural habitat, and that's I think the way we should keep it, because it makes us the jewel.
Now, Kurt, let's get to know you now. You were born in Belize. I'm sure you were born in Belize, and I'm not making a mistake when I say that. You were born in Belize. So let's take it from there.
So, yes, I was born in Pomona, Stan Creek Valley. My mom was the valley nurse, valley midwife, and my dad was the factory foreman. My mom was Nurse Paula Cutkelvin. My dad was Gilbert Cutkelvin. Okay. And so I lived in Pomona until I was 12. When I was 12, I moved to Belize City to go to Wesley College, Wesley High School. And then when I came up, I lived with my older sister, Teresita Arnold, and Earl Senior Arnold. So I live at Connor Plews and Prince Street. And that's where I lived for a couple of years, going to Wesley until my parents moved to Belize City. When they moved, I moved with them back to 5 Amara Avenue, across from Grace Chapel, and that's where I would say I started coming into my own.
On Amara Avenue.
Amara Avenue.
No, you talk about Pomona, right? You know what came to mind when you mentioned Pomona, right? It was a heck of a time in Pomona Valley when stoplights, sharp and electric. Were you wrong with that story? Or
I experienced it. The story, I was there. I think it was when the citrus company had strike, and something was going on. So I was aware of that, but I was very young. But speaking of Pomona and Sharps, my family got to Pomona because Mr. Jerry Sharp went to Dos Caobas and brought my dad from Dos Caobas Sawmill, from Holt Sawmill. And brought him to be the factory foreman.
Where was Dos Caobas again?
Dos Caobas is about mile 19 and a half on the Stan Creek Valley Road. Okay. So there was I think a Holt Sawmill there. And that's where Mr. Jerry Sharp went to go get my dad from. And then
took him to Pomona, and then that's how come you were born in Pomona and spent your formative years in Pomona.
After my parents came to Pomona, I started going to St. Matthew's primary school, Anglican primary school with Kenan Richards. And then I went to Holy Angels, RC, for standard 5 and 6. So that was my formative years in Pomona before coming to Belize to Wesley.
Okay. And Wesley, what were your days like at Wesley College?
Well, Wesley was rough because, first of all, I had to repeat first form.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. I was playing too much. I had new freedoms, right? And I failed maths by about 3 points, and Miss Burrell says, you got to do it again. Miss Joan Burrell says, you got to do it again. It says, and I met a young kid in Placencia on this Sunday night that was 12 years old. He was from St. Bite, and he was in Placencia selling Cotta Brute and Wangla and different stuff. And I'm like, it just took me back because that was how old I was when I came to Belize City. And it just blew my mind that's what at 12 what I would have been, you know. So, yeah, I did 2 years there, but I played soccer with Daniel Edmonds. And then from there, that's where I got into cycling at Wesley, and made some good friends, lifelong friends.
Tell me, you got into cycling. How did you get into cycling?
Well, I got into cycling because one of my uncles used to ride, but where we live in Pomona, we live at the gate of the citrus factory. Yeah. And when they used to have the races in Stan Creek, he used to come and turn right at the gas station that was in front of the citrus factory. So he was in my blood from young, but I didn't know how to take. Okay. And once I got to Belize and then started hanging out with the right people, and it's like, wow. You know, soccer was my primary sports. That's what I think I was going to do good at. But once I got into cycling and see how organized that's how I was able to travel a little.
So how long did the soccer career last?
Well, it lasted through high school, and I played a couple of. We had
How many games you can recall?
Yes, we had a couple of teams. One name I won't call on here, and then the other. After that team, I had another team called Libby's All Star. But in the transition from Wesley to technical, I was also part of a group with G. Alex Allen. Called it was a paramilitary group.
Yes, I remember that group, G. Alex Allen and that group. But go ahead.
Yes, but that group, it expanded my mind. Sergeant Major Sanchez was very in Cadet Corps. Cadet Corps was the name of the group that G. Alex Allen ran.
Yes.
And so friends from there, and then the experiences that we had with there, going on camps. One of the ushers also was instrumental in that. He was a young officer in BDF at the time, but taking us to Camp Privación in the Moncton Pine Ridge. Alan, yes, taking us to Progreso and building discipline. I mean, I can't put a price on that kind of stuff as a youth growing up in Belize City.
Okay. So you had all this discipline growing up now, and the football career. What position you played on your football team?
In Belize, I was primarily a midfielder, a midfielder mostly. When my early years in America, I was a striker, and so but I transitioned more into cycling, and what made cycling so quick for me as a decent rider was that I bought my first bike from Alpheus Williams.
Okay, I remember Alpheus very well. Alpheus worked with us at Radio Belize. But anyway, go ahead, Alpheus Williams, the man.
Alpheus Williams, and he was the cross-country champion.
He was the champion, yeah.
And he said, Kurt, the only way I'll sell you this bike is if you allow me to train you. And so, but then that entails different things, which is different disciplines. So I had to leave from Southside and come over here by Nursey Street in that area there and wake him up and wait for him to get ready to take me to the road to train me. So that was my introduction to cycling. And
Alpheus really was a great cyclist. You know, I can remember him very well as you speak of him. And so tribute to his memory, you know, Alpheus Williams.
Yes. Yeah. Alpheus was one of those natural talent. He was a natural talent, and he had good people around him too. I mean, the key thing in life and in anything is having talent, being able to do the work, and having the right people around you. Mm-hmm. So Alpheus had that, you know. Mm-hmm. So so that's what made me excel in cycling. I went from.
How many races did you take part in?
I did 3 cross countries.
Three cross countries.
Yes.
Well, I know you might want to share or not share with me the positions that you came in.
Well, the first time I came in way to the back. Okay. Crash. Yeah. No. See, the key thing in life is not where you start; it's where you finish.
That's right.
Right.
No, I agree with you.
The first time it was rough. The second one was better. I finished with the group, and then the third one was I was one of the people to watch for that one, and so everybody was like always dependent upon me. But what you call it? Taddy, Eric Nigel Vernon. So he was one of my teammates because the last one I did was with Team Cinzano, and so we were riding, and everybody was watching me. So Eric placed in the top 10, and people were still there waiting for me to bring them back to Tom. Okay. So, but after that cross country, then it was time for the test races for Olympics. And in July of that would be 83, I went to July of 83. Yeah, I had gone to race in Ciudad del Carmen, Mexico, and I had done well that weekend, and the seed was set to go to the Olympics, and so I came back and then did well in cross country, and in the test races for the Olympics, I was able to participate.
This is a year or two after independence, right? Or 2 years or so after independence.
Yeah, actually 3 years, 1984 Olympics.
1984 Olympics, yeah.
Yeah, so
3 years.
And in the process of that, I met Mr. Jose and Yvonne Cowie, He was the president of the Cycling Association, and then I started cycling with his son Warren, and then we my parents were so busy working and doing what they do that they didn't have time to support me with cycling. But Mr. Jose and Miss Yvonne, in the process of it also, between Alpheus and Mr. Jose and Mr. Yvonne was Andrew Ordonez' dad. Andrew Ordonez, who we know now as the broadcaster in cycling, his dad took some effort into me and with the training. So that was my...
You had some famous people in your career, your cycling career, because Jose Coye, of course, is passionate about cycling. Right, Joe became a minister of government later on. Joe Coye, everybody know him as Joe, right? And of course, Miss Yvonne stood right there with him, right?
Yeah,
It's very strong too.
And I was thinking from a cycling point, Mr. Coye was the face, but Miss Yvonne was the one who was behind manipulating all the actions, and so it was good. I mean, they stepped in where other people was missing. So yeah.
Let's stay on the cycling topic for a little while, right? You left to go to the United States, right, as a fairly successful cyclist, right? Did you continue cycling in the United States, and how did that cycling thing continue?
Well, it's interesting you say that. So I came back from the Olympics in August of '84. Right after I came back, my parents went to America for the first time, and they stayed for 6 weeks in Los Angeles. And they came back, and as soon as my dad came off the plane, he didn't speak a lot, but he looked at me and says, "Your butt is out of here." He didn't use butt, but it says, you're gone. He said, before the end of the year, you need to be in LA.
Okay.
And that was not my idea, because my idea was I'm going to win 1985 cross country. I had everything. I had Abel Rodriguez, National Butane Gas. I mean, he spared nothing to support me. I mean, nothing. And again, his wife was behind it. Oh my goodness, yes. But they spared nothing to support me. So, but when your dad speak, and at that age I was 20, and December 10th, 1984, I got on a bus, Bati bus, went to Chetumal, went all the way by bus to Los Angeles, and the rest is history. Got to the States December 14th and started college January 2nd, and the next thing you know, I was playing soccer, left my books in the bleachers, and on the way home I saw a recruiting station. And I enjoyed...
You got to the soccer while you were over there,
yes.
Right? But what happened to the bicycle? You know, I carry a bicycle with you?
No bicycle was left. No bicycle was with me. So, but speaking of cycling, let's talk about a lot of debate is in Belize right now about the foreigners coming into Belize.
Yeah, because that's where I wanted to go. But I wanted to ask you a question in between that. Cycling, when you left it, and now that you're seeing it becoming more internationalized with the foreigners, like you're rightly saying, and so on. So maybe you could put in this whole part here, your feelings about the development of cycling in Belize throughout the years, right?
There are so many issues when it comes to the development of cycling in Belize from 1984 to today, right? Yeah. But a big part has to do with the sponsorship by the different companies. I don't think the government give the benefits that they used to the companies to sponsor individual riders like they used to do then. Okay. And I don't know if they did it then just for the love of it, but from what I understand, that it used to be that they got a write-off, but no, they don't get a write-off. I mean, Abel Rodriguez, like I said, spared no expense. I was working at Brodiz. Brodiz didn't. They were like, you are identified as a potential. Come in, at a decent time, but come in. and if you got to go, go. And so they afforded me that time. From the association standpoint, the biggest thing that I see right now is there is a lack of volunteers who love the sport and want to see it continue to grow and flourish. Now, so looking at the individual guys right now, there's not a lot of individual sponsors. There's a couple of team sponsors, which I think might be doing it just out of the love of their sports. You could think right now we got 3 or 4 big teams in Belize. Obviously, Santino's has always been a big supporter of cycling. Now you got Valvoline with Oscar Quiroz. You got G-Flow with Mr. Glenn Flowers, which a lot of people are upset because they think it's a conflict of interest. But he came on not as the president. He came on to the association as somebody who could help the association have access to greater resources for our folks to travel. And then the president and vice president resigned, and so he got up to the president position. So now, when it comes to the foreign competition, this has always been my belief. You can't take enough riders from Belize to go experience foreign competition, but you could bring the foreign competition here that our riders can experience. More of them can experience what it is to raise their level of cycling. So now, moving forward, everything in life evolves. If you're not evolving, you're dying, right? So we started the cross country as an expedition. It's not an expedition anymore.
No, it's not.
It's not an expedition. No, we're all nationalistic in Belize. We want a Belizean to win. Like I said, in this last race, I was thinking Oscar might have won. I wanted Derek, but I was thinking Oscar just because of the dynamics. But they didn't. Now, where's cycling in Belize now? I think that Belize, our people has to realize that the national championships of Belize, we got the road race, the team time trial, that is where we'll always have a Belizean champion.
Yeah.
Cross country need to be what it is right now. It is a business. It is a business. And this year we had riders from over, I would say, 12 different countries. Yeah. Cross country is the longest one-day race in the Western Hemisphere. It's the oldest one-day race, and
it will attract other countries.
Yes, and so now we need to just open it up, and I think with Mr. Mala as the Minister of Sports and Devin Daly, I think that their impetus can for the tourism effect. Not that we need any tourism effect at Easter, but at least it could be the spark. And then when there is a season in Belize that we need to have some boost, so we have cross country and we have another race that will boost in that empty season where we'll bring all these riders, all these support, all these fans, and make it what it is, and then everybody benefit in Belize. Yeah. Not only we can say we have a champion. We can say that the country benefited. Yeah. So I think that's where we need to go. We need to bring more riders, and I like this year that they had a little guidelines of who they bring in well in advance. Now, one of the things this year with cross country that I saw is that they also have to vet riders, because there was riders in Belize who was riding cross country as their bucket list. No, you don't want to be riding cross country as your bucket list, and like I said, the race has evolved. So you there with people who have put their blood, sweat, and tears for the last 9 months into it, and you go out there and cause an accident and stuff. So that's why this year I was saying that I was calling that the race would be a breakaway quick early in the race that's going to drive it forward. Which did happen, but because the guys have to separate themselves from the amateurs. When I pick up my bike again was in 2020.
Okay,
right.
So all the while from you arrived in the United States, at age 20, you didn't. What year was that again? You said in 1984.
1984.
You did not pick up your bicycle until 2020. So you had 16 years of basically that you did not follow cycling at all.
Well,
Except for what the newspaper said, right? Or maybe if you could have tuned in on the radio when the internet services came in, maybe you'd have gotten some clues as to what was going on immediately.
yes, sir. And then the Friends Network, which again was still not as easy as it is now. Now, we put off that event in Belize for the Legends of Cycling in January. We put it off from America, right? And so because of the communications, so now communications make it easier. And I always, once I got established in the Navy, I was able to get a bike, and I always had a bike and did some riding. But like as far as putting some good miles, I didn't start again till Ordonez started broadcasting his live stream, and then you fall in love with it, and it's fall in love.
It brought you back to Belize.
He brought me back to cycling in a whole, and then with Jocelyn Chavarria, he was one of my teammates at the Olympics, and then once his kid did what it takes to go to college in America, from an academic standpoint, then we had jumped in to try to help him from a financial standpoint. But he did well for a semester and a half, and he still have a little over a year of college needed. But then, there's more people need. That's what we talk about. You have the top cyclists in Belize for the last 2-3 years, and his desire is to get a college education. He did what it takes here to put himself to get accepted at a college in America, went to America with grassroots support, right? But then that grassroots support was not able to be sustained, and so he's back cycling, and not with a degree. So that is one of my passion right now, is to still, I haven't talked to him since cross country. We talk after cross country briefly, but transition. But if that's, and I know that he's getting a contract with the Blazers. That is the word in the street. But we want, my desire is to support people in Belize who's going to come back in Belize with the education and the knowledge to build Belize and to build the youths in Belize. Because that's the passion, is that I don't think all the things that was in place in Belize to help me navigate life is in place right now.
Cutkelvin spoke of his vision of giving back to Belize. He also shared that a family crisis during his military career forced him to re-evaluate his priorities. We take a break to hear from our partners, Del Martin, Silkgrass Farms, The Barry, and Minister Kevin Bernard.
See what I mean? Jump and shout all over the nation.
At Silkgrass Farms, we believe in more than just growing food. We're cultivating a future. Across 9,000 acres in the foothills of the Maya Mountains, our family of farms grows a vibrant array of crops: coconuts, citrus, cacao, watermelons, avocados. But our mission goes beyond harvests. Through sustainable agriculture, we are not just growing crops, we're strengthening ecosystems and reversing the impacts of climate change. Silkgrass Farms is a part of a global movement, transforming modern food systems into living stories of nutrition, nature, and people. From our fields to your table, every product tells a story of health and hope for the future.
Debari is your one-stop store of choice. We have an array of electronics and accessories to keep you connected. Your home will be the envy of your friends when you choose from a wide variety of household appliances. We can help you dress the entire family in style and comfort with our selection of clothing and footwear. Visit our store on Albert Street in Belize City, San Pedro, La Isla Bonita, Park Street in Orange Walk Town, Belmopan, and San Ignacio, Santa Elena. Debari, get more, pay less.
Orange Walk, the future is brighter. Since Kevin Bernard became your representative, progress has never stopped, with Plan Belize 2.0 leading the way. In Palmar, 2 main roads have been paved. The main road that passes through Tower Hill Village has been paved, connecting our community. In Tan Pine Ridge, the entire road has been paved, a major step forward. And every month, new roads are being paved in Orange Walk East. Kevin Bernard is committed to building a stronger Orange Walk East, one road at a time. Together, we're moving forward. Kevin is the people's champion.
Celebration time. It don't matter what part of the jewel they come from. You da you and me da me. But guess what? All are we the one.
How do you see yourself accomplishing your goal? The steps that you will take to do so.
Well, the accomplishing the goal is easy. It's to have the vision, right? So,
well, that's where it starts. You have to have a vision. Without a vision, you won't go anywhere. But anyway, the vision.
The vision. So it starts with the vision, and then understanding that you have to continue to hold that vision, and then do what it takes. So a lot of stuff in Belize that we support is we see youths who are helping other youths that we could aid them along to make them more effective to do that. So if you're talking on a personal basis, my goal is to be the greatest benefactor Belize has ever seen.
Okay.
And that's not only from a financial standpoint, but from a systems and program standpoint.
Okay.
Right. So that's if you can't say it,
yeah,
it won't come to pass anyway, right? So I have the vision, and I'm saying it, and I know that I got to go do the work,
exactly.
Right? So, but faith which worketh by love, and if you do anything for love, it's always going to succeed. So I know that I'm going to be the greatest benefactor Belize has ever seen.
Okay. What steps do you see yourself taking towards that goal now, or what steps have you taken so far? Let's look at that first to reach that goal.
So the biggest thing is I put myself in the financial services industry in America. The financial service industry is the biggest industry in America, and it's uncapped potential. So I have started laying the groundwork that I could build that up to where I'm making the kind of cheese that's necessary to fulfill the vision that I have. Because everything I do is for my family and for Belize. From a financial literacy standpoint and from a standpoint of love in Belize, we already formed our foundation, Belize Education Empowerment Foundation, which we have done things in the past. We're doing things now, and we're going to do things in the future through BEEF, Belize Education Empowerment Foundation, to do that. That is headed by my son. My son, he works at the University of Texas at Austin as Director of Student Affairs in the Lyndon B. Johnson School of Public Affairs. But he loved Belize. So that's what I said, the greatest benefactor. My kids are a benefactor to Belize. So my daughter, she is a licensed master social worker, soon to be clinical, and her stated goal is to start running some adventure therapy in Belize from America. But every time we do those things are always going to be benefiting the society. So that's just a start, right? So
that's a start.
That's a start.
And the ultimate goal is to be the biggest benefactor, you said. So that's a long road.
Well, that's through the love of my kids for Belize and doing everything for Belize, and then eventually through the philanthropic work of our foundation.
Okay. Now, let's go back a little bit now. We left 1984. You left Belize. went to the United States. You actually gave up cycling when you went there. You concentrated then on the soccer or football, like we call it here in Belize. You concentrated on football, and then you started to get your formal education. I take it. You said you were going to college and so on. So take it from there, and let's go on that side of the story.
Okay, so I went Access America through Los Angeles. So the craziest stuff about it is that I went to boot camp in Great Lakes, and then I went to my initial school at Dam Neck, Virginia Beach, and then my first duty assignment was Long Beach, California. So I was right back in LA, and so I was able to play soccer with the Belize team there. Under the leadership of Rodman and Gilda Middleton. And that team, that I was the striker. That team was loaded, and we won a couple championships in the Los Angeles League, and I was the goleador.
Okay.
So that... Yes. It was interesting because on the flight down, one of the guys that was my primary feeder, his name was Hams Flores. He was on the flight with me from Houston to Belize this time, so we didn't really get to connect. But it was, it was just
coming back home.
It's just seeing each other, right, and just bring back memories right away. So we had Hams Flores, we had Indian, we had a lot of stuff. So, but in America, stationed in Los Angeles, my goal was to get to the highest level of military as quick as possible.
So you joined the military?
Yes. When I went to boot camp, when I went to play soccer and they stole my books, and that's when I changed buses. I saw the recruiting station. I walk in, and the next thing I know, I wake up in Great Mistakes, which was Great Lakes Naval Training Center, and then joined the military. And then
how was that career? What was it like being in the U.S. military for you?
Well, it was pretty good. It was like I said, my goal was to get to the highest level as quick as possible, but in the process of doing that, I had a life event that changed my life. So
what was that?
Normally in the military, it takes 14 years to make chief, and I decided that I'm going to make it as quick as possible, and I was thinking 8 years. That's what they told me, that it was the quickest time possible. Well, I ended up making it in 7. But to do that, my first assignment was a pre-commissioning unit, which is the hardest assignment, bringing a ship to life. The second assignment was another pre-commissioning unit, bringing another ship to life. That means going from building, working with it in the builders in the shipyard, and then bringing it to sea trials, and then taking it on a deployment and back.
Okay, so you build the ship.
We were not building the ship, but we were there as they were building the ship.
As they were building the ship, you were there.
People.
Technical people. Then you have to stay with the life of that ship, take it out.
Take it out to sea, make sure all the systems work, everything work. Then they call something called Navy acceptance cruises, where they go out and make sure that the ship was qualified to do everything, was talking to each other. Okay. And then from that point, I was an operational guy. So I started in the Combat Information Center, where they fight the ship, and then that's where I did my work. And then eventually, after the first ship,
so that's Navy, right?
That's Navy.
Yeah.
That's Navy. After my first 4 years on the ship, the ship was stationed in Long Beach. That's where I was playing soccer on the weekends. After that first 4 years, I took an assignment to a bigger ship. That one was being built in Pascagoula, Mississippi. So I had to go. I had different trainings around the country to prepare me to go there as the last phase, and then bring the ship to life again. And then by that time I was an air controller. I advanced to being an air controller. and then
Air controller on the ship, or that means it was an aircraft carrier.
no, well, not
How you
necessarily.
could be an air controller?
That's a good.
Because when you said air controller, I said, oh, he was on an aircraft carrier.
Okay, that's a good question. So in the military, you have a cruiser. Every time you have an aircraft carrier, talking on a deployment, every time you have an aircraft carrier, you have a cruiser that is always within range. No, there's different tactics, right? But there's always a cruiser that's protecting the aircraft carrier. So on that cruiser, when the aircrafts launch off the carrier, the first 5-10 miles they're under the control of the carrier. But once they get out of that, then an air controller from the cruiser take over to employ them on their mission. So that was my job.
Okay, that's a delicate job.
Yes, yeah. So, but by God's grace, I did it well, and that allowed me to get advanced to what they call chief in 7 years, which normally would take 14.
You became the chief.
Yes, but it was a hard work, and my wife had followed me up to America on that first ship. 2 years later, so she got pregnant, had my son, and then that's what I said. The life change was all about me getting to the highest level, and it was not about my family. So I did that. I went to the other ship. Got advanced. I was, by the time in the next 4 years there, I was running the Combat Information Center for that whole ship. Wow. Right? And then once I got advanced, we had too much people there. But another ship requested me because they were going on deployment. And so I went because they needed a controller. So I went on that ship on deployment, and they didn't have somebody to run their operations department. So they start petitioning D.C. to Washington, D.C. to keep me on that ship.
Okay.
And we were 2.5 months into the deployment. I was we were in port in Abu Dhabi, close to Dubai. And I had duty that day. The morning the captain came into the CIC, into the Combat Information Center, he was all excited. He said, look what I got, look what I got. And I was like, I don't know what you got unless you show me. And so he says, you're mine, you're here, we got you. And I was like, cool. Because this was a ship that was like the first ship I was on. And it was much easier to run after the last ship I was on. So I was cool. I was like, yeah, okay. And then the night, he knocked on the chief's mess, because he can't just come in, right? And he knocked, and he come in, he small talk a little bit, then he says, Chief, he says, come to my stateroom. And he went to his stateroom, and he says, just got off the phone with the ombudsman. It says, your wife had a stroke. Couldn't talk, couldn't walk, couldn't move any part of her body. He said, Chief, he says, as much as I had victory this morning, he says, you got to go home. It's time for you to go home. Because he knew how I end up where I was. And it wasn't an easy road. Yeah. But he said,
you had to go home. That was an urgent situation.
Yes, it's time for you to go home. So I says, okay. He put me on the phone with the ombudsman. The ombudsman, the ship had somebody who was in charge, who was liaising with all the family members while we're gone, and that was the ombudsman. And then so talked to her. She gave me the phone to the hospital, talked to the doctors, and so the next night I was on a flight from Dubai to Kuwait to Amsterdam to LAX, and you know, the gusto for achievement was tempered by the reality that I have to focus on the family.
Yeah, and your wife got better, obviously.
Yes, sir. Yeah, she got better. We have 2 beautiful daughters since then.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just life.
That's when you left the Navy?
No, I didn't leave the Navy. I just didn't make the Navy my life.
Your life.
Before, the Navy was my life. The Navy was my life. I mean,
this change and you realize that family is important as well, right?
Yeah.
And so you had to find a way to adjust.
Yes. And so I took 2 assignments, what they call dream career killer assignments. So I did 3 years and then another 3 years in shore-based establishments. But that was important to be there for my wife, to take care of her and for her to get back where she was. And then after that, we moved from San Diego. Those are all in San Diego, California. And then we left from there and then we went to Hawaii, which is where we spent the last 8 years in the military in Hawaii. And Hawaii was great because it was like Belize, making American dollars.
Yes. Hawaii. So you were in what part of Hawaii? Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor. Okay.
Which was on Honolulu. Yeah. Pearl Harbor. So it was a great 8 years there, just enjoying it. The first 4 was on a ship, and when we went to that ship, then I was in charge of the whole operations department, and then from a enlisted standpoint, and then from there, I went to the commander of the base. I had orders to Puerto Rico, and I went on deployment, and the base in Puerto Rico closed. And then the commander of the base, the admiral, heard that I was available. And at that time, my family had left because we had already had orders to Puerto Rico, and they had left to go spend time in LA with my family while I was on deployment. Then when I come back, I would have picked them up and gone to Puerto Rico. So our household goods was gone, our vehicle was gone, everything was gone. And then when the commander heard that I was available, he said, "You coming back?" So I went back to Honolulu, Commonwealth Surf Group MidPac. I went back as the operations guy there too, and so that's where I really started playing golf.
You started playing golf, and were you a golf champion? Or?
No, not a golf champion. That's where I learned to play it a little bit.
Let's look at the years you spent in the Navy. How many years you spent in the Navy?
Well, I like to tell people I ended up spending 21 years, 6 months, 13 days, 22 hours, and 14 minutes.
Say that again?
I was jokingly, 21 years, 6 months, 13 hours, and 14 minutes.
So time it to the minute, right down to the minute.
I was just kidding. No, when I came from that deployment, went back to Hawaii as operations for the shore installation. That was my last time in the military.
And that was the 21 years, etc., etc.
That's where I retired from
Hawaii.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I stayed in Hawaii initially doing real estate because that's what I saw as the future, and I had prepared myself while I was on shore to do that. So for me, though, the biggest life change came when I came back from that deployment.
Which deployment? Because another question I never asked you, did you see active action while you were in the Navy?
Yes, I did. But I'll just recount one time that most, should you say, butt tightening moment.
Fine, one of the most tense moments in your career.
I've had a couple of them, but this was on my first deployment. We were escorting tankers through the Straits of Hormuz, and we had a missile fired at us, and so I run the CIC. So I was the supervisor at the time, running the whole stuff. But the captain,
TIC is the Center for Information.
the Combat Information Center. So I had the tactical action officer is in the middle of CIC. Next to him is the weapons officer. Next to him is the gunnery officer. Next to him is my track control guy. And so they're all there in front of me. And then So there is electronic evidence when things are about to happen, and then we got that. So then things happen, and then we picked up on radar and inbound, and then we start counting down, and you have the captain there just saying, hold batteries, because people it's and then the bridge says, okay, visual confirmation, and then the bottom line, the stuff came, and we never released batteries, and it ran out of fuel about 3 miles from the ship.
Okay, so it was very close to you, and you all were there holding.
That was my first time. That was I mean I'm trying to not talk anything that might be.
Of course, there are certain things you cannot say. I understand that.
Yeah, so I had another instance that was maybe greater than that was here.
So you had some few scary moments. Let's put it that way.
I had a lot of scary moments, but that one, I mean, which was crazy, and then there was another one that was close. I had good friends on the Vincennes when the Vincennes had taken on that. So there's a lot of things that you can't recount, but.
You had your time in the Navy.
The Belize Education Empowerment Foundation is one of the ways in which the Cutkelvin family continues to give back to Belize. He will tell us more about it after this break to hear from our partners, Del Martin, Silkgrass Farms, The Barry, and Minister Kevin Bernard.
All are we the one. See what I mean?
At Silkgrass Farms, we believe in more than just growing food. We're cultivating a future. Across 9,000 acres in the foothills of the Maya Mountains, our family of farms grows a vibrant array of crops: coconuts, citrus, cacao, watermelons, avocados. But our mission goes beyond harvests. Through sustainable agriculture, we are not just growing crops, we're strengthening ecosystems and reversing the impacts of climate change. Silkgrass Farms is a part of a global movement, transforming modern food systems into living stories of nutrition, nature, and people. From our fields to your table, every product tells a story of health and hope for the future.
Debari is your one-stop store of choice. We have an array of electronics and accessories to keep you connected. Your home will be the envy of your friends when you choose from a wide variety of household appliances. We can help you dress the entire family in style and comfort with our selection of clothing and footwear. Visit our store on Albert Street in Belize City, San Pedro, La Isla Bonita, Park Street in Orange Walk Town, Belmopan, and San Ignacio, Santa Elena. Debari, get more, pay less.
Orange Walk, the future is brighter. Since Kevin Bernard became your representative, progress has never stopped, with Plan Belize 2.0 leading the way. In Palmar, 2 main roads have been paved. The main road that passes through Tower Hill Village has been paved, connecting our community. In Tan Pine Ridge, the entire road has been paved, a major step forward. And every month, new roads are being paved in Orange Walk East. Kevin Bernard is committed to building a stronger Orange Walk East, one road at a time. Together, we're moving forward. Kevin is the people's champion.
Celebration time.
said there was this experience now that you went through that changed your way of looking at things.
Yes. So we were gone. My whole family was gone, and I came back to Hawaii, and I was there by myself. And
real estate.
No. This was between my last ship assignment and my assignment for the admiral. And in that place there, I went to church, and I had an experience where I gave my life to Christ, right? But then maybe 2 weeks, no, it was longer than that. So I came back to America. I took my family around America. With America, Canada, we did, in 24 days, we did 10,000 miles.
Wow.
In a Dodge Caravan. So we left from California, went all the way up into Michigan, into Canada, into Niagara Falls, and 4th of July over Niagara Falls, and then came down the eastern seaboard, ended up in Miami, ended up in Disney World, and then my uncle had a 50th anniversary celebration in Tampa, and then we went back to California, and we drove right onto the port to ship it back to Hawaii.
You mean the vehicle onto the port?
The vehicle back to the port to ship back. But when I went back to Hawaii, there was a pastor at the church we were going. He pulled me aside and he said, "Kurt," he says, "I want to tell you something." He said, "I've been watching you." Now, I wasn't living committed to Christ the first 4 years. Yeah. He said, "I've been watching you, and I want to tell you a couple of things." He said, "One, is that I want you to know that everything Christ is going to do for you, He did 2,000 years ago when He went to Calvary." Mm-hmm. He says, "Now I want you to take this into consideration." And he gave me 1 Peter 2:2. Which 1 Peter 2:2 says, "As a baby desire milk, that is how we need to desire the Word of God." And then he gave me Job 23:12. So Job 23:12 says that Job desired the Word of God more than his necessary food. So in those two situations there, it was a case of, I had a young baby, my daughter who you met, Kirsten. Yeah. All she wanted when she was young was milk and cheese, right? And then, as you can see, I didn't see a plate I didn't enjoy, right? Yeah. So those two references that spoke to me. Yeah. And that's when I started digging into the Word of God. And then that's how I was able to get free of a lot of other things that had came along with my life. Okay. And then just made life completely different. Mm-hmm. So from that, my last 4 years in Hawaii was the best ever for the kids, best for my wife, best for all of us. And so my mom was living with me at the time, and it was best for everybody. And so that started the journey. And last year when I was here, I had an awakening because I realized that knowing what I know now coming from that side of getting on the Word, and how I was raised up in Belize, right? I was raised up Anglican, then Catholic, then Wesley, then Nazarene, then and all of it created a heathen. So this is what I would say. Religion is man trying to reach God. Mm-hmm. Spirituality is man understanding that God is trying to reach us. Yeah. And then we accept that and live in love, accept the sacrifice of Jesus and live in love. So I'm writing a book right now. It's called Righteousness, the Missing Link. Mm-hmm. And so the next time I sit with you at any time,
to talk about that,
it should be to talk about that book.
I'm looking forward to that because, I sort of subscribe to what you just said, because I think religion is a vehicle, right, to reach God. That's what it is. It's not the ultimate thing. It's just the vehicle that you use. You might choose to go in a different brand of vehicle. I almost slipped and said this or that and that, but you can choose the brand of vehicle that you want, but it's a vehicle that you're using to go to God. And that's what it is, because the connection to God is when you want God. I think that's the same thing you were trying to say, right?
And the essential part of that,
right?
the essential part of that, Dr. Rene, is that Jesus is the only one with empirical evidence that he came and he did what he said he was going to do.
Yeah.
And he was buried and rose again, which there's evidence for that. So I would leave it at that. But what he did, and let me take a little step further. Let me take it a step further, because I started my journey with Mr. Jenkins in Pomona, rolling up the valley in Bible studies. And it was always, you accept Christ, that when you die, you go to heaven. And when as I continued to transform, I realized that was not the truth. You accept Christ, that you could live in oneness with Father God, that you could rule and dominate over the earth. Never over people, but over circumstances and situations on the earth. That's where the love come in, right? So why Jesus had to come back to earth was not for us to go to heaven. Why Jesus came was so that we could live from our spirit, which is what we lost in Genesis chapter 3. We lost the ability to live from our spirit, and when they ate of the fruit, their eyes were open, and they start living from their flesh. So Jesus came back, that when we put faith in him, we can go back to living from our spirit, where nothing is impossible for us, because we have unlimited potential residing inside of us.
So it's like, if you say that rock be moved and can be cast into the sea.
Anything is be it unto you according to your belief, right? I just articulated some stuff earlier that people say that's crazy. Whatever happened to Baron Bliss? Well, Baron Bliss is history. And I know there's none of Baron Bliss' sons running around here. I know that there'll always be sons of the Cutkelvins running around here doing good for Belize.
All right. So let's go back to that goal now. Greatest benefactor. Let's go back to that.
The greatest benefactor. So we talk about Belize Education Empowerment Foundation. So we always supported different things in Belize, me and my wife, right? And so when the first time I brought my kids to Belize, which talk about the cycling and all that, was 2012. And then when I showed my son what we do in the places that we were touching, he went back and he started Belizean Education Empowerment Foundation. So as a vehicle to be able to take tax deduction in the States for what we did in Belize. And not only for us, for anybody who want to do it. So, and then after that, he started bringing, we call service trips to Belize. So we bring service trips to Belize. We do different projects at different places, orphanages, primarily, some community organizations in the city, some diabetes education in Belmopan, working with different areas. And so we have done that, and the people we target to bring is people in the college system in America who might have Belizean ties but have never been to Belize. So we have done that over the past, and once he started his doctorate, we kind of put that on hold because he was focusing on that. Now he's finished his coursework, just finishing up, and we're gonna continue to expand on that in different areas. Like I said, with my daughter starting to bring the therapy, adventure therapy to Belize and different stuff. The Belizean Education Empowerment Foundation. Our whole purpose, right, is twofold. One, to support people in America who want to give to Belize to a specific project that they could give to the association. We could highlight that as going to the specific project and then make sure it get to where they want it to go in Belize. And then we do the same thing as opposed to running the other stuff. The other issue that we targeted is taking kids from Belize up to America. Most kids in Belize graduate at 16, 17. They could go to America if their attitude, academic, and athletics is correct. We could take them back to America, put them in college for 2 years, and let them get a scholarship and go on from there, right? And what that vision, I was in Placencia talking to Douglas Langford and his son, right? And that vision that we had articulated in our strategic plan years ago is what they had done with their son. So we know it's going to work. So we're putting ourselves in position to do that. I think we have already identified a candidate, that the first one that we're actually bringing up. So we're going to do a lot of different things, but little by little, it's about empowering. So cycling, that is one of the big places that we're focusing right now.
So on Holy Saturday, you were out there cheering on and what have you, right?
Like everybody else, I wanted the Belizean to win, but I understand the dynamics. It's not about Belizean to win. Belizean winning is the national championship. That Belize win is what Holy Saturday should be about moving forward.
Belize country.
The country win. Can you just think, just on Love FM, we were talking earlier about 216,000 impressions of the beautiful countryside of Belize to the people who some of them are still wrapped up in blankets, right? They're seeing that. What does it? Make them thirsty to want what we got?
To come and see what Belize is all about.
Yes, and then if we identify another day when it's a slow season for tourism, that we could put a race off that will attract every man and their brother and their family and their supporters and all that to come back. We'll work on that too.
Yeah. Now you reside in San Antonio, Texas. I know a lot of Belizeans reside in that area as well. What's your relationship like with the Belizeans in San Antonio, Texas?
So in San Antonio, Texas, we have a big Belizean population because San Antonio, Texas, a lot of military retirees choose to resettle in San Antonio.
Why is that?
Well, it's easy access to Belize for one.
Oh.
But also with the military retirees, there's military benefits, and in San Antonio is the largest hospital for the military. There's bases that they could still take advantage of their military benefits tax free, and all that. So the houses are very reasonable in America, not like the left and the right coast, right, which the prices are crazy. So we have a community. When we got there were people before us that were bringing Belizeans together. And when I moved to San Antonio, I only knew one person, Wayne Roberts, the Roberts family. So we used to live on Amara, and Wayne used to live on the canal side right behind us at Pong Yard. So that's who I knew. And so we ended up living closer to where they were. But when I got there, then he started introducing me to people, and then I realized that there was people who were holding Belizean stuff before. So I started throwing an event, a Belizean event, to recognize Belizean education. So because I was focused on education, because that's what we were raised in Belize. Getting education is the way out. I don't believe that now, but that's how I was raised, right? Education is the way out. Yeah. So we start doing it at Memorial Day, which is the end of May in America. And so we started in our house 2-3 years, and then we went to a park, and then so our biggest support at the time was Leroy and Jennifer Neal. Mm-hmm. So Leroy and Jennifer Neal could not make that event in May, even though they were the ones supporting it biggest, because everything we do is for free. Not free, but free for the people who are attending, because we're trying to bring Belizeans together. So we changed the date to American Labor Day, which is normally the first weekend in September. And so the Neals could come, and then we made the focus switch from education to national celebration. So our event in San Antonio is not the biggest, it's not the loudest, but you can guarantee you it's the most patriotic, and it's the most informative for everybody to come. So our goal, is that when people enter the park where the event is held, they don't know they're not in Belize. And so
recreate scenes of Belize.
that's what we've done, and that's what we continue to do. So we have Bob Rancho. Are you familiar with Bob Rancho?
Of course.
So Bob Rancho lives there now. He has a big business there, blue hole drilling. Yeah. A lot of his children live there. All of them are business. So for myself, we have transitioned to the business side. I have a real estate company. Yeah, there's a lot of Belizeans. There's the Wagners. There is the Malas. There, which speaking of Mala, Miss Mala was the original Mala Joseph, Elaine Mala Joseph. They were the original people that had started getting Belizeans before we came. But it had died down. Life happens, right? So in San Antonio, as we start revitalizing what was done by Elaine and Mr. Joseph before, we realized that there was other people that was around. So it became a national celebration, and our goal is to make it always keep it national. So Labor Day in America is the normally the end of August, first week in September. And so most people come in on Friday night. Saturday night we have a welcome dance where people come in and we have it at an event that all the proceeds from the welcome dance, we bring the Queen of the Bay from Belize. That's been our tradition now for the last 3 years. So we're bringing the Queen of the Bay up, and they grace us with her presence, and then everything, the proceeds from the dance supports the picnic. So everything at the picnic is free. And then we have the picnic, and then that's on the Sunday. And then on Monday, everybody travel back. So we have people from all over America come in for that event.
That's great. I'm looking forward to that. You said something a while ago about education, right? How do you view education? You mentioned it in passing, but maybe you could break it down a little bit.
So we grew up in Belize, and in Belize, the stuff was you get education is the way out. That was beat into us, right? Yes. So I went to America. As soon as I got to America, you heard I said I was in America 2 weeks. I already got enrolled in college, right? So it was in there. Mm-hmm. But through a series of circumstances, I ended up in the Navy. But once I end up in the Navy and I finish, in the Navy, it was all about the mission. I was a mission support. So I took a course or two here and there, but it was not until I left the Navy that I got involved in school full time. So I ended up going to school full time, and I didn't go to school full time expected other than to tell my kids, you need to get an education. Because as we were growing up, we gave them 3 things. The 3 E's was to enlist in the military, educate yourself, or evacuate. So they knew what the 3 E's were growing up, that they were either going to enlist, educate, or evacuate. Wow. Evacuate the house, right? That's So after I got out of the military, I got into education because I wanted to.
Did they go into the military?
No one there. So one thing I told them also was, as long as you're in school, I got your back. That was not a good thing. That was so my son, he milked that to the 10th degree, but then he also helped my daughter quicker. So, but the bottom line is that once I got out and I got into real estate, I realized that everything in America, probably Belize too, is set up for business owners. And I realized that everybody that was going to school was going to go work for somebody who not necessarily went to school. They dropped out of school, but they had a vision and they were able to take action. And so that's how I transitioned to becoming a business person, because in America, the tax system is set up for business owners. And then, that's how you're going to make it. You're going to make it by having unlimited streams of income, which only the business owner could do that. Every other thing, they pay you what the job is worth, not what the business owner is worth. So now I had already sold them on education. I went and I got my bachelor's and I got my MBA so that they could continue that process. But now that I'm looking from this side, I'm like, okay. So I'm trying to turn their ship, my children's ship now. and it's working. You'll see something for the last 3 or 4 years. My son is part of a company that put actually it's about 5 or 7 years now, the Black Student Athlete Summit. So there's 5 owners, with my son being one, and what they do is they attempt to educate Black student athletes that only a minute amount of them are going to go professional in sports. So they have to be professional in something else to be able to leave the college environment and be ready to go to greater heights. So they have a symposium every year that bring the Black student athlete. It started, the first one I went to, it started with probably about 110 kids. Last year they did it in USC in California that had 1,900. Wow. And this year they're doing it up in Chicago, I think at Loyola, Chicago, but they have over 2,000 registrations already. So from a business perspective, he's seeing that what they make from that is more than, and he makes good money at University of Texas, but that just what he did there as a partner pays him.
In my mind, education really is to draw out from within the potential that a person has within, not to impose from outside. And I think many times we have an education system that seeks to impose from outside as against to draw out from what you have from within you. Now, what would you say to those comments?
You're opening a can of worms. Because the education system is designed by society to fit society what the leaders in society think they need. Right? So, and that goes back to living from your spirit. When you live from your spirit, you get inspiration, and the inspiration as you live allows the people who could help you to get to where you want to go show up.
Yes.
So it's about living from inspiration and taking action on those inspiration. Because you could have inspiration all day, but if you don't take action, nothing is going to happen.
Fit without work.
Right. So yeah. So that's to your point. Right now, I have agents. I'm building a company all across America. My company is called Regency Financial Education Alliance. That's my company. I wear the shirt because I'm powered by Universal Wealth. Universal Wealth introduced me to alliances that I don't have to pay to be a part of. They have already opened the door that I could go in with my company. But none of my agents that I have, well, as agents, the criteria for me to work with them and give them my time is for them to articulate something. So everybody that wants to work with me, I give them an assignment. I am so happy and grateful now that. And they have to cast their vision in that now that. And the longer they take to bring that assignment back to me, the less chance that I will work with them directly. I will work with them, but chances are I'll have one of my other leaders work with them. But if they could bring that back to me directly, that they know where they want to go, then I could help them.
Because that way you want to come from within, right?
That is correct. So it's already inside, and they don't have to be thinking about it. They know where they want to go.
So education is to draw that out.
And I could help them once they know where they want to go. So that's what's going on. So and when I give it to them, they don't know that's a criteria to determine how much of my time they're going to get. But so it'll tell me based on how quick they bring it back to me and how articulate they are about where they want to go, how much energy they're going to get.
So how would you respond to Margaret Mead's famous comment, right, that I like to use from time to time? Children should be taught how to think and not what to think.
That is the whole goal of life, is to learn, is to teach people how to think, right? Because thinking makes it so. And going back to what Jesus says, be it unto you according to your belief. But your belief comes from what you're thinking, right? Because it's about meditation. It's about meditating, right? And just to cap off this whole debate, talking that we had earlier, in our life, yes, we might make a profession for Christ, but it's not until we submit our mind, our will, and our emotion to the Word of God can we go to the place where He wants us to go, right? Because that is the only thing that man has control over: his mind, his will, and emotion. And so when you get control of that, then the rest is history. But that comes from thinking.
Yeah, because your life will always follow your thoughts.
That is life.
This has been a very exciting conversation. I enjoyed every minute of this conversation with you. Is there anything else you'd like to tell me before we sign off?
Well, there's not anything else I'd like to say except thank you for allowing me into your presence, because I know that you are a walking national treasure of Belize. And when we get the chance to chat, I want to know some of the things you know and some of the things you pass down to certain people, because as a national treasure, that is
my son. I see you pointing to my son. He's right there standing.
he's the benefactor. He's the one that's taking you to the rest of the world. Yes. So that's my, as we spoke about earlier, that is my goal. That my kids bless Belize as much as Belize has blessed us.
That's right. And blessings always come when we are inspired by love. And because we are always inspired by love, we say Belize and beyond. Thanks for choosing love.
Celebration time.